Welcome back to the Cabinet Podcast. My name is Grace. Today is Monday, February 22nd. This is a podcast about knitting, books, baking, and cats, but most importantly knitting, because that is what I love to do all day, every day. And oh my goodness, do we have a lot to discuss. We have a lot to show you. There's just been a lot that's happened. We'll get into that. If you'd like to follow me on any of my social medias, I have Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Ravelry. I'm most active on Instagram, so if you want to go follow me over on there. I also have Goodreads if you want to see what I read, blah, blah, blah. I also have links to the things that I will be talking about that will be in my show notes, so if you're on YouTube, the link to my blog will be down below, and you can see all these things, or if you are on my blog already, everything is already there. I don't really know where to begin, there's just quite a lot that has gone on, since we last chatted. So let's just get into the podcast and we'll just start somewhere. So, if you like to grab something tasty to drink, something to craft on, something to snuggle on, maybe laundry, you're folding laundry, maybe you're working out, maybe you're gardening, I don't know. You could be doing any of those things, anything that brings you joy. None of those things, if they don't bring you joy, then don't do them. But, whatever. You do you. Yeah, it's been a while. This feels weird. Anyway, let's just end this, and you can go grab any of those things or none of those things, and you can come back and join me for some crafty chat. Got that out. So, a lot has happened, as I've said. I've realized I didn't say what it was. I'm looking at the bottom. Calamity Wear is where this mug is from. This mug is the mug that my sister-in-law gave me for Christmas. She drew my name for gift-giving purposes, and it's literally just all the world is coming to an end. It's all bad things, and that would be an accurate description of what happened in Texas last week. Starting on Sunday night, and went pretty much up until Thursday. Pretty rough. Unfortunately, there's still quite a few people who are without things such as power. There are people, most everyone has their power back. There's some people who do not have their power back. Some people have their water back, some people don't have their water back at all, some people do, and they're under a boil notice. Thankfully, our boil notice was lifted last night, so we are very grateful for that, but we are so, there was so much destruction that happened in Texas, in Houston, in the greater Houston area. It is so sad. I can't even begin to describe how sad it is, and it's just like, we are not built for this. There was just a lot of issues going on. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, I don't know, you may have not been able to see the news. Maybe you didn't have power yourself, and in which case, I hope you have power now. I would assume maybe if you're watching this, you probably do have power. Or have been able to charge your phone in some way, I don't know. But yeah, goodness gracious, it was rough. We were incredibly lucky and did not lose our power at all, which was really great, because it was very, very, very cold. We did lose our water for about 24 hours at one point, but thankfully, Sam, my wonderful husband, who was very prepared, had got water before that. So we had water to prepare for this lack of water, and then it came back and it was pretty gross water. It was very rusty. We filled our bathtubs, and then at one point when we drained them, it was just like, whoa, that's pretty gross. That's real gross. So we're definitely under a boil notice. But we are no longer under a boil notice, which is really great. And just so many people's pipes burst and houses were flooded, and it's just so sad. It's not good. So that was our entire week last week, and it kind of like was not like, we knew it was going to be bad, but we didn't know exactly what would happen because of how bad it was going to be. So it's not that the week like was eaten up by this snow and ice storm, but it kind of was. And I couldn't tell you what I did the week before because last week was just so big. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say about it. There's just so much to say. And it's just, we could talk in circles about it. So I have gotten a lot of knitting done. I also got a lot of knitting done, not just because of this horrible event that happened, even though it was cold and we could wear a knitwear, and that was really great. There were some good things that did happen, but for the most part, not super great. But the week before, so I recorded at the beginning of the month. I took my birthday off, which was last Monday, a week ago today. And so it's been 2 weeks. That's also why I feel a little rusty to podcast. That's okay. And I've gotten a lot of knitting done, and I've just remembered that I forgot to grab a finish object because I have quite the lineup of projects to show you. A lot of them are new, and some of them are test knits. Are we surprised? No. So, yes. I will also say that there are quite a few people that have made wonderful posts on Instagram, and I'm sure on other platforms as well, that are raising money to donate to charities in Texas to help those who are in great need right now. So if you see those, keep an eye out for them. There's also a lot of Texas dyers that are, last time I am aware, they were still without water, so they can't dye. They were able to get to the post office, but they can't dye, and it's literally their job, so they can't do that because our water is just really gross depending on where you are. It's a big mess. So just keep Texas in your thoughts and your prayers for a while because we need them. It's not doing super great over here, but today it is currently 72, so where are we with this weird weather? You know, we went from, like, at one point the high like barely got to 15. If 15 was like high for us during last week. So if that tells you anything, yes. And also, like, let's just acknowledge, yes, there are so many other cold places who have weather like this, weather much colder, and regularly get snow and ice. But they are built for that, and they are prepared, and their electrical grid is the way that it is, and Texas has its own electrical grid, and we are not built for any kind of intense cold weather. So that is why we struggled so much, and I've talked about this for a while, so we're gonna move on, but just know that we had a major ice storm last week. It was rough. Power outages, all that jazz. Not good. But I got a lot of knitting done. I also celebrated my birthday on Monday. I am now 28 years old. Go me. And yes, it was that was like just the beginning of the how bad the storm was going to be. And so our water went out that night, and I knew that because the roads were bad, we couldn't get out to go get something to bring it home for a fun birthday dinner. So I was going to make something out of this brand new cookbook that I got that I'm super excited about, and I also was going to talk about it today, but I forgot to bring it in here. And then our water went out, and I was very frustrated. And I realized in the grand scope of things, scheme of things, whatever you want to call it, that is really not that big of a deal. But I was very irritated because I was like, it's my birthday. I had my heart set on this pasta dish that I was gonna make. I was really excited about it, and then our water went out. But again, very grateful for still having power, which is really the big issue. So there was just a lot of stuff going on, layers and layers, and I don't know. I could talk about this for forever. So let's just go on to the knitting, which is what you're here for. Where to begin? Okay, so I have 2 finished objects, and this thing is now going to shed all over my leggings, but that's okay. One of which I have forgotten in here, but it is literally just a small toddler hat that I made for my nephew that I was going to give to him. But then plans got changed and I couldn't actually give it to him, but I do have it done, so that is good. And that's knit out of like some random Lion brand that I've had laying around that is just perfect for that kind of stuff. It's a barley hat by Tin Can Knits. I knit it up in about 2 hours. It was great. So I also have a sweater that you have not seen before and is done. I mean, you probably have seen this now if you follow me on Instagram. You have seen this beautiful, amazing Felix by Amy Christophers. I'm getting a bunch of text messages. I believe my mother is texting me. Yes, it is my mother. So this has a story. So, if you had seen a couple episodes or some episodes a while ago, I had gotten this yarn. It is Noro and mohair held together. The Noro is Silk Garden Solo, and it's in color number 1, which is like the really popular color that has been made famous by Petite Knit, and my mohair is color 50. It's got a fun name, like on the website, from the Diablo mohair that's now everywhere. Oh, that's cat hair, never mind. Is it mohair? Is it cat hair? Is it other yarn fuzz? I don't know. This is the life of a knitter who also owns a cat. I'm sure I am not the only one who can relate to that, so that would apply to me. From the Diablo mohair from Hobby Yarns, and it is so good, and I'm so excited to knit with more from Hobby Yarns, which is HOBBII. If you were curious, it'll be in the show notes. But so I got this yarn specifically to make the terrazzo. I think that's what it was. Terrazzo sweater by Petite Knit. And though it is an adorable sweater, I cast it on and I had gotten it started, and I think I showed it to you guys at some point. I didn't have very much done. And I don't know what it was. It really, like, I wasn't jiving with the pattern and the yarn, and it wasn't what I wanted. And it has, again, nothing to do with the pattern. I love the yarn, clearly I love the yarn, but it just wasn't what I was looking for and what I wanted. And so I went pattern searching, as you do, and I came across and was reminded of the wonders of the Felix sweater. And if you are a longtime viewer, you would know I actually happen to have this right here. I have another Felix that I love and adore, and I knit last year, and this was actually a COVID purchase, I believe, which is kind of crazy. It's been about a year at this point. So yeah, it's just a simple pullover with the lace on the increase raglan area. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about. You can see where the lace is. Here's the sleeve. Here's the neck. And so I did some finagling, and I happened to have just the right amount of yarn, and I was going to make it oversized, which I did. So I made probably 2 sizes bigger than my green one. And I love it. I love it like so much. And no, I haven't woven in my ends. They're all woven in technically. I haven't trimmed them. And no, I haven't blocked it. But I really don't know if I actually need to, because it's just beautiful. And I've already worn it quite a bit because it was cold. If you hadn't heard, if you did not pick up on that, it's been very cold. Though it's not cold now. So yes, this is exactly what I wanted. This is exactly what I wanted out of this yarn. I wanted a very oversized, very snuggly, longer pullover out of this yarn that is beautiful. It is beautiful. I love it so much. So I was gonna say something. Oh, I remember what I was gonna say. I have made some alterations, and I got really fancy. And by fancy, I mean I added some waist body shaping, and I changed up the sleeve decreases. So super fancy. But I did play around because I knew what I wanted. I knew what kind of sweater shape I wanted. I knew how my green one fit, and I love it. But I wanted something that wasn't as boxy, though this is still very boxy, don't get me wrong. This is boxy, the most boxy, and I love it because that's exactly what I wanted. But I didn't want it to wanted some shape, basically. So I added some decreases on the sides, which if you're interested, I do have all that information written down in my Ravelry project page. Oh yeah, I was like, is my sleeve not lined up? That does not even make sense how that would be possible. But so decreases down the side. I did about 4 of them, 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 of them every 13th row. I also lengthened it because you knit to a certain length and then you do the ribbing, and that gives you a certain length, and I wanted longer. Brilliant. So I knit to the original finished length, which I believe was like 11 inches or something like that, or maybe 13 inches, and no, I think it was 11 inches. Yeah, it was 11 inches because, so my finished one is around 13, maybe a little bit longer. But the original one would have ended at 11. So it is much more cropped, which I also love. It works very well. But this is significantly longer than 13 inches. That's dumb. I don't know why I just said that. This is way longer than 13 inches. But I love it. I mean, I can't go wrong with this. It's just beautiful. So again, Felix by Amy Christoffers, Savory Knitting on Instagram. I have Noro Diablo mohair from Hobby Yarn, which was very cost effective and I loved it. I just can't get over this. So I'm super happy with this. This was very spur of the moment. I'd also like to say that I was not planning this. Not planning this at all. And in fact, it happened a week ago this evening. I had recorded that day. I hadn't worked on the terrazzo sweater at all, and I pulled it out and I was just like, this is not bringing me joy. Why am I continuing this? This is not what I wanted. And it's still, again, it's still a super cute sweater and I'd love to make it at some point, but just not with this. It was not what I was wanting. And so very spontaneously cast it on and made it through more than half of the raglan increases that evening. And I was just like, this is what I was looking for. Super instant gratification. A sweater I'm gonna really love, a sweater I can wear all the time. I will get so much use out of it. It's a neutral, but it's also fun and colorful, and I love it, and it's just so good. If you can get your hands on this color number 1, which is very hard to get because, again, Petite Knit has made it so popular because it is beautiful. Would highly recommend. It is gorgeous. It's very watercolory. And plus the mohair just makes everything look really soft, and it's just like, oh, I just love it. I love it. That was a cast on and finished item. I did finish another item. Is this what we want to talk about next? Sure, let's talk about it. We know what bag this is. This is my sock bag, everyone. This is a test knit. I'm test knitting a pair of socks. And the other pair has been put on hold. But I am bound and determined to get this pair done before the end of February, so it is my February pair of socks for the Comforting Socks knit along that is being hosted by Little Bitty Delights and Hand Knit by Cam on Facebook and on Instagram. There's a hashtag. Go and be inspired. Look at the beautiful socks. So I finished this yesterday. I have a finished pair of socks. I learned so much, and I will tell you why. But can we even with how beautiful the sock is? And yes, this is a different color. I know it's kind of hard to tell, but it is a different color. So, everyone, oh man, I was going to look up how this is pronounced. Dang it. Okay. This is going to be a pair of socks that I'm testing for. We've been over this, I apologize. I'm testing this for Paula of Autumn Poppy Designs, and that may sound familiar because I have I almost said I hand knit. Yes, I've hand knit. I knit one of her other patterns earlier this year, or early last year, the Cozy Days cowl, and I used long dog yarn, goodness gracious, long dog yarn, just talking too fast and the sounds are not coming out correctly. And it was pink, and it was teal, and it was beautiful, and I loved it. And she just creates really very lacy and delicate patterns, but also just like very simple patterns as well, but in the most elegant way, and I love it. And so she posted about needing some testers, and I was going to get lunch with my parents before going to the optometrist, where they consequently dilated my eyes, though I didn't want to because I had to drive and then go to the dentist and had to drive around with dilated eyes, and I hate that. fun fact, this was all going on. If you saw a picture of me with those fun little eyeglasses things behind my glasses because my eyes were dilated, that I was in the process of getting this tested. So yes, I was going to look up how this is pronounced and I completely forgot. I get very distracted. Okay, so I do know that this is the Polish word for pine cone. Okay, I'm gonna copy this. Can I copy it? No. I will tell you how it's spelled. Szyszka. Okay. I don't know. Szyszka? We're gonna look it up. But I have to remember how it's spelled because it's not letting me copy it. Technology is failing me right now. Szyszka. I think I got that. Oh yeah, I did. Okay, but can we have it pronounced? Yeah, pronunciation. Shishka. Shishka? Okay. Shishka. Can I listen to it? I just really want to listen to it. How about we have a YouTube video? That would be better. Oh, there we go.
Pronouncenames.com.
Shishkovsky.
No, that's a name. I don't want that. That's not...
Shishkovsky.
Stop. That's not what I wanted. That was not... I think it's Shishka. Is it Shishka? Okay. Oh, I think this might be it.
Shishka.
Shishka. We've been through this experience now. Do you feel bonded? I feel very close to you now. You've watched me try and figure out how... Shishka. That was fun. I could edit that out, but I think I'm gonna leave it in because relatable content. Also funny. I thought it was funny. I hope you thought it was funny. I apologize if you thought that was irritating. Shishka. Do I need to write? I have my snithoning thing over here. I think I need a shishka. Remember that. Just say it. I'll say it a million times so I don't forget. So we can see here we have our little shishkas. Ooh, let's get that tail out of the way. You can see those little pine conies. Super easy to memorize. This yarn that I'm using is actually the Barnyard Chicken sock and mini set from Hugh Loco, and I don't actually have the ball band because my mom and I split the set, and I believe she has the ball band. And then I used some leftover Life in the Long Grass in the Space Opera colorway. It's this. That's been in a bazillion things at this point. I also apologize about my nails. They're a mess. Kind of went through a lot last week, so nails were not a priority. This is toe up. I've never done that before. Let's go over what I learned. I learned how to do Judy's Magic Cast On. I taught myself how to actually knit magic loop and not get frustrated at myself, which was rough, because I do not have needles that are magic loop appropriate. I just have this little guy in a 1, which this is probably 16 inches, and that is not what I would recommend at all, but I made it work. There was a snowstorm going on, okay? I had to make it work. I then learned how to do, Okay, also, I will say that I did the toe magic loop and then I switched it to my 9-inch circulars for the foot and pretty much everything else. Also, can we even, like, for someone who's never done a toe up sock before, I think this turned out pretty amazing. My gusset looks awesome. I did the heel turn magically. I was very disoriented and I was like, we're blindly trusting this pattern. I know it's right. I know this is what we normally do for heel turns, but like I'm going the opposite direction. I don't know what I'm doing. I feel very lost right now. But I managed to do it correctly. And all the numbers checked out and I was like, okay, well, okay, now we're still going backwards. Now we do the heel flap. And then I did my cuff. Very beautiful. And it fits really well. And I'm very proud of that. And I'm currently this far into the second one. And this is just about half a repeat short of where I need to be when I started increasing for the gusset, which is super exciting because I did all this yesterday, including finishing this, which I'm very proud of myself. I remembered how to do the Judy's Magic Cast On and finagle a magic loop with my 16-inch needle without having to look it up, and I'm so proud of myself. Is toe up my first choice? Probably not. But I felt way more comfortable with it the second time that I did it. So that's good. And yeah, so now we're just plugging along. I love how this is knitting up. The colors are just so beautiful. I'm trying to remember the name of the rooster set. I don't think I have it in here. But this is what I'm working with. So that's super exciting. I do in fact have all my other sock stuff down in here. So I have this sock. That will not be my February pair of socks, but this will be my February pair of socks. And we're very excited about that. Will this apply to be my March pair of socks? I don't know. I have to actually ask that question. I don't know if it will. Technically, it really doesn't matter, but so for Paula, the Shisha socks, which is Polish for pine cone, as we have learned together, thanks to the internet. But yeah, so this was very spontaneous. Again, I don't know why I was like, again, I was waiting to meet my parents for lunch and I was sitting in my car on Instagram and I saw the picture of these pop up and I was like, oh, I will apply right now. And here we are today. Which like in hindsight is really great that I did that, even though like, I don't know why, what am I trying to say? I did not know that these were toe up socks. And I think had I known that, I may not have done this test. And if I hadn't done this test, I probably would have never learned how to do a toe up sock. And now I have. And now I know how to get it started without having to look it up. And can we even? I'm pretty proud of myself. Pretty proud of myself. And I know that this is common knowledge and that a lot of other people know exactly how to do this and don't even need to blink an eye before doing it. But I'm pretty much proud of myself for having taught myself. How many times can I say the word myself? Yeah. I taught myself how to do this and I can remember and I'm pretty proud of that. So, probably won't do another pair of toe-up socks for a while. But I don't know. I don't mind the toe part, but I'm not a fan of the heel. Like, that's just weird. to me, you know? But I also, like, the second sock that I did with the magic loop, it was like, oh, okay, I just really need to, like, stretch this. Really gotta pull this cord and give it as much as I can get out of it. But it did make me want to look into getting needles that I actually can use for magic loop, so that's very exciting. I also still need to get a pair of metal 9-inch circulars, because I love this pair that I have, but it is literally the only pair that I have, and the tips are very dull. Not because I've been using them so much, but I'd like to think that. But I wouldn't, because I want them to stay nice. But the point is, I know that there are other sharper needles out there that would make decreasing and stuff like that a little bit more pleasant. So that's really exciting. That's a test knit. Let's talk about our next test knit. And we got 2 to talk about, and one of them hasn't been cast on yet. And in fact, I literally picked out the yarn for it right before recording because I wanted to talk about it. But this one is not that. Okay. Oh my, this is so beautiful. I need to make sure I remember what it's called. Something adventure. Yes, okay. Yes, okay. I was close. Actually, I was correct. It's the Urban Adventure for Sorry Nordlund. Sorry _N_ on Instagram if you are interested. This is her picture on her Instagram, and it is beautiful. And I am test knitting this again. This was very spur of the moment. And I was pretty sure I was not going to get it because I put my name in pretty late in the game. And I'm so glad I did. I can't even, everybody, like, oh, I'm so happy with this. I was starting out all stash, deep stash, so good. I can't even, and I don't want needle or stitches to fall off, but this is a worsted weight color work pullover, and I love this so much. My orange, my main color, is some very old Cascade Eco Wool that I used in some project, and I frogged, which is, I know that because I have this wound into this ball. I have another half of a cake, which I would believe would be the other half of this one, and then I have a full one. So we are doing some great stash diving right now. My gray is Barocco Ultra Alpaca, I believe, because it's the fuzzy one, and that's the fuzzy one. That makes sense. And then I have my gray is Wool of the Andes from Knit Picks, and this is the Onyx Heather colorway. So together we have my color palette that I'm very excited for. We're just singing all the time today. We can sing because the birds are singing today. I apologize for talking about yarn. So I'm really enjoying knitting on this. This has been a little bit more slow going, I think, because I want to get these socks done because for February and the whole knit along and all that kind of stuff, and feeling really good about this. I worked on this pretty much all of Saturday, this past Saturday, and I got a lot done. I am more than halfway, yes, no. Yeah, I think there's around 50 lines to the color work chart, and I think I'm on like maybe 30 or 29 maybe, so I'm kind of ish, you know. I also like that it's kind of a cropped-ish sweater. It's not doesn't have a super long body, but the yoke is also very long. So we do have a very low sleeve divide, which I do love in a sweater. This is my favorite. I also am super excited because one of my favorite sweaters that I have knit is my rug sweater, and I knit that out of Cascade Eco Wool Plus. And so to be able to use this again in another sweater, I'm so excited. So, great stitch definition. So much fun. So I'm really enjoying this. And yeah, we're just plugging along. I love a good color work. I mean, who doesn't love good color work? I mean, you may not enjoy color work, and that's totally fine. No offense to those who do not like color work. I just love it so much. It looks so nice. And I had several color palettes picked out that I wasn't sure if I was going to use or not, and so I was trying to debate which ones I was going to use or what I was going to use. And I'm really glad that I went with the orange because it's very different. I don't have any specifically sweaters that I knit orange sweaters, so I'm very excited for this. So this is another test knit, fun times, and not due until sometime next month, March 17th. But I'm not sure if it's coming out then exactly, but that is when our deadline is for the sweater. So next up would be my brand new one, and I get to test knit again for Susan of Ye on Knee Knits, and she is really doing amazing things with her patterns. I know that she has a couple in testing right now, including this one. And I will be knitting Across the Universe, which is a DK weight asymmetrical cowl, and there's some very fun texture that I'm very excited to get my hands on. And I'm unsure about my colors, so if you would like to weigh in, you are more than welcome to. I probably will have decided by the time this goes up, so that may not be helpful, but I have this color option, which I do love so much. I really like how that looks like on camera too. It's giving me a little bit better perspective. Sometimes it's hard. Like, if I have to pick out multiple colors, and if I'm trying to do it quickly, I'm just not in the right headspace. And sometimes it's just very hard to look at the colors from a distance, or like, I don't know, does that make sense? Like, I have to take myself out of the equation and just look at it very diplomatically. I don't think that's the right word I'm looking for, but hopefully that makes sense. I just need to not overthink it, basically. This is my other option. Ooh, that looks fun. I do like that too. Very neon. So this would be my main color, because that's the one that I have the most of. And then these two would be my contrasting colors. What do you think? I don't know. I may have to consult some friends and family members. I do like that though. Also, can we, even with the lighting today, it's just been really nice. Thanks, lighting. So, this is going to be cast on soon. I would really love, the goal is to get the socks done first, because they need to get done, and they're not due until March 10th or something like that, but for the purpose of the knit along and also my peace of mind, I'd like to get them done as soon as possible. Also, so I can maintain this only 2 test knits at a time thing, because I think that is better for me personally. So that is my goal, and the sock is going to get done. It may get done tonight, because there's a Bible study that Sam is doing with our church, and it's on Monday nights, so it's usually a quiet evening for me on Mondays, and probably like catch up on YouTube or something like that, and knit on my sock. And I am loving it so much. And we still have 2 more projects to talk about. Aren't we so happy? We have so much content. That was like, that's one of the nice things that I really enjoy about taking time off from recording, is that it really allows me to make all the things and have so much content. Which obviously the goal is not necessarily to have content. The point is to have joy in making things. But it's nice to have content in addition to that. And, yes. Also, I don't remember if I mentioned this last time I recorded, but one of my goals, and I think I went over this in my knitting goals and plans of 2021, is that I just want to take more time for myself. And when it comes to the podcast, so taking more time off. And I really enjoyed having the week off. Obviously, then the world kind of became an Iceland, and we didn't have power, or we did have power. A lot of people didn't have power. We also didn't have internet for a while, so that would have been very challenging to upload and put out a podcast without internet. Thankfully eventually came back, but we were without internet for a while, which again is very small in the grand everything happening. But it would have made putting out a podcast very difficult. So let's talk about this little fun project that I have in my WC Mercantile bag that they unfortunately have closed and have been closed for a while, but I do love their bag. And it's perfect. So we have an HEB plastic bag that carries my Scoobies. It's a very beautiful way to carry around your Scoobies, which must mean only one thing. This is, there's a lot of stitches hanging out, being held right now, and you may be like, oh, well, what in the world could that be? And I would tell you, oh my goodness, I'm so proud of this. This is so cute. I'm making a Penguino. And this is for my nephew. This is for my nephew. Little Jonas turned 3 on February 17th. So I'm very happy. When he was born, I was very happy to have another February birthday in the family. Since mine is the 15th, his was on the 17th, and I can't even, everyone. So cute. I had so much fun. This was another very spontaneous thing to cast on because we were going to see them this past weekend. Like literally, we would have been coming home last night. But there was a little storm that came through. I believe it's called Uri. I think they named it. Snowstorm Uri that came through, and so we were not able to, which was very sad, but it did relieve me of not having to rush and like get things done, because it was going to be a very tight fit if I had gotten everything done, plus my socks and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, this is all stash. Again, I went super stash diving. I found every bit of like Lion Brand, anything that is 100% machine washable. That would be good for a little 3-year-old and can be easily thrown in the washer. And I'm so happy with how this is turning out. I do not have any variegated colors. I have all solid colors. Which I think is really awesome, and I really like how this color blocking is turning out. I know I just keep showing this to you guys like this, but I think it's super cool. I feel like it's very modern looking, and I love how these stripes turned out. And yeah, so I am not sure when exactly Jonas is going to get this, but This is not going to become a languishing whip by any means because it needs to get done, as will Sam's Penguino. That also needs to get done. I had a goal of getting it done this month and that clearly did not happen. But that's okay. Next month. It will be fine. Yeah, it's really squishy and I'm so happy with how this is turning out. There's just something very satisfying about knitting small versions, smaller items, baby items, toddler items. I have some baby knitting coming up. I have a friend of mine who is having a baby soon and I need to make her some stuff. I'm so excited, and I believe the yarn was delivered today, so fingers crossed it actually got delivered. The tracking said it was delivered, so because it was supposed to arrive sometime last week, and again clearly that was not happening because the whole state fell apart, you know. So yeah, that was another cast on. And now in this bag, our final project. Oh man, it's so much fun. I have my birthday cast on, and that indeed did happen, and we have a little story time about this. Not necessarily anything groundbreaking, but I would love to talk about how stress can affect your knitting and your gauge. So let's just go over the basic information first. I have all the I'm knitting from minis, so I have them all lined up in the color palette that they are. I really don't know if you'll be able to see that, but there they are. I am knitting the Basque Shawl by Samantha Gurin Designs. I said Basque and Relish last time, but they are two different shawls. I believe the Relish shawl is the smaller version of what I am doing. The Basque is bigger. It is an asymmetrical shape. Think find your fade shape. And we've got some brioche lace, and I'm loving it. I am using the, this is also one color brioche lace, so that I do appreciate that. Because knitting the same row twice can get old very quickly. But the things we do for the beautifulness of two-color brioche, you know? The things we do. I am knitting with... Yes, you know. A mini set from Hugh Loco that she is currently, this year, she's working on a collection of birthstone mini sets. And she recently put out the picture for Aquamarine, which is March, and it's just so beautiful. But since my birthday's in February, purple's my favorite color. Amethyst has always been my favorite, which started from a very young age because my birthstone. I feel very loyal to my birthstone. Do you ever feel that way? And so I, when she posted the picture of this mini collection, I was like, oh my goodness. Birthday cast on, taken care of. So finding this pattern to go with this mini set, I'm super excited to be able to fade it. I've switched out the colors so they make a fade. Or not switched out, but I switched around the colors to make a fade. And I was going to say something. Oh, I remember. So I really appreciate, especially when like specifically asymmetrical or an odd shape shawl includes a schematic, a drawn schematic. So you can kind of see what you're doing in case you are unfamiliar with the shape and you're like, why am I doing this? What shape am I creating? I'm not wanting to think about geometry because I didn't like geometry, so I don't want to think about those bad shapes. There's no geometry here. But So there is a schematic, which is really wonderful. I appreciate that greatly. And I was, one of my things that I took time to do when we were not being able to do anything because of the snowstorm, was to color in where I'm going to be kind of changing colors, and fading from the green to the gray. And yeah, so let's have a little bit of definition time, shall we? Okay, so if you're not a knitter, gauge is basically how tight or loosely you knit. And depending on what you're making, gauge is super important. If you're making a sweater, that is super important. If you're making like a shawl, that's not as important because you're not like depending it to be a certain size as if you were a sweater, because it obviously has to fit you the way that you want. And also, I say this in all the knitting classes that I take, or that I teach, that there's no right or wrong gauge. Some people knit tightly, some people knit loosely. Some people happen to be in the middle, and that's wonderful. Good for you, that is great. You don't really have to play around with your needle when it comes to finding gauge, specifically with sweaters. Some people have had a lot of experience with their gauge. I know my gauge on a size 6, and it is my favorite gauge. Regardless of what a pattern says, if it's a shawl with fingering weight, I'm probably gonna knit it on a 6. I just like that, how my gauge is, and that's just the way that I do things. That's my personal preference. But what I always say when I teach is that gauge is like your fingerprint. It's always going to be uniquely yours. There's no right way or wrong way. It's just very uniquely you. So you can't be like, though you can get like a reference point from someone or a friend or a designer or a pattern and be like, oh, they used a 5 to knit this, or they used a 4. That'll be a better example. They used a 4 to knit this shawl. And it's like, well, their gauge must be very loose because they've had to go down in needle size. My gauge is not super tight or loose or whatever, so I'm going to do it at a gauge that I like and what I know I can get a good shawl gauge on. Does that make sense? So I may use a 6, you may use a 5, you may even use a 7. You may have to go down. You may have to use a 3, depending on how you knit. And again, there's no right or wrong way to do that. Like, it's uniquely you. It's like your fingerprint. And another thing that I've talked about, and I have also talked about a lot, or I've talked about it a lot apparently, but different places. On this podcast, I haven't talked about it recently, but I also talk about it when I teach beginning knitters, or really just anybody. I would say this to anybody. But the cool thing about your gauge is that it changes. Your fingerprints don't change. I mean, I guess they kind of do over time, but I mean, not like gauge. Yes. So if you happen to be really very chill, like there's just happy things, you're not stressed out or whatever, your gauge may loosen up and you may find that your stitches are bigger or whatever. You may have to go down a needle size depending on what you're doing, but most likely not. This is not a reason to change your needle size for a whole project, because obviously you're not going to be one mood this entire project unless it's very small. But even then, like, I don't know. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. So when you're when you're not stressed and everything's just like really just happy-go-lucky, you're watching a rom-com, you're laughing, you're reading a very feel-good book, you're listening to good music, you're hanging out with friends and family that you really love safely, maybe with a mask on. Your gauge is going to be pretty loose, and that's great. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing, it's just a fact. There's nothing wrong, there's nothing right, it's just there. In the opposite direction, when you are super stressed out, you may be watching an action movie, you may be having a discussion, maybe having an argument with someone in person or online, and you're knitting in between, writing those comments, or you may be waiting for an impending snow and ice storm. Your gauge will tighten up significantly, and that is exactly what happened with my shawl. So like I said, I always knit my shawls on 6s. Like, that's just what I do. I have this on a 6. My mom saw this and asked if I had knit this on a 3. Which my mom knows her knitting, and so, and that, like, this is very dense for my 6. This is very dense. This looks like I knitted on a 3 or a 4. And I'm not exaggerating. Like, I know I could be exaggerating, but, like, this is also the fact that this is curled in like that. I don't know if you can tell, but, like, it's kind of created a little pockety thing. And that's because I was knitting so tightly. Because I was stressed out. Because of this impending snow and ice storm. Doesn't matter that we get to play in the snow. Doesn't matter we got to wear knitwear the entire time. I'm still very stressed out. And so I knit more tightly. Which is really okay. Again, there's nothing wrong or right with it. It's just literally just a fact. And so because of stuff like this, it's just really cool. Because, like, again, it's uniquely you. You can look back at projects that you've knit over the years and you can remember if you can remember what was going on while you were knitting them, you can tell if you were stressed out or if you were happy. You can tell if you were relaxed or if you were waiting for an impending snowstorm or whatever. And, like, I'm going to remember that I cast this on while we were worried the power was going to go out. But also I can look at it and be like, wow, I was really stressed when I was knitting this. Because this is not my normal 6 gauge, you know? I'm trying to see, I have, like, a bunch of knitwear over here. Let me see if I can find an example. Can I get to this one? This one's on the bottom. I think, yeah, here we go. So this is my powder and dust, 100% on a 6. So this is what this gauge looks like. It's very drapey. Very drapey. And just, like, the weight of it, the shawl, because it's a big shawl, but you can see that when it pulls, you can see that the gauge is pretty open. So this was knit on a 6. It's pretty chill for the most part of this. This is my the 6 that I knit on Monday, a week ago today, while we were waiting. Like, this is not, it won't even stretch. Like, it's so dense. This is just a story time, fun fact. Gauge is personal to you. Your gauge will change. And yeah, you can look back at your projects. You can be like, wow, I was stressed out then. And obviously, like, if you block something, that'll kind of go away. Like, you won't be able to see, like, the specifics of, like, how tight things are. But you can probably tell. If there is a big difference, you'll be able to tell, regardless if you block it or not. I just think that's so cool. I think that's really neat that your knitting can be almost in tune with your mood and, like, what is going on around you and how you are. I mean, obviously your knitting is not, like, doing it itself, but you're channeling all your feelings into your knitting and it's coming out in your gauge. And I think that is really cool. I can't tell you why I think that's cool. Apparently not, because words are not coming to me, but I just think it's really neat. And I think it's cool that we remember that again, gauge is very specific to you. It's like your fingerprint, and there's no right or wrong gauge. There is a wrong gauge when you knit your sweater, and it is either way too small or way too big, and in which case that was the wrong gauge. That would 100% be the wrong gauge. But in general, you make your gauge work to the pattern, you know. The needle size in patterns is usually a guideline. You think about your gauge and what the pattern is calling for needle-wise, and you make adjustments based off of what you know your gauge to be, your fingerprint. Which I think is really cool. So, yeah. And that's my story time about the gauge. That's the Basque Shawl by Samantha Gurin, and I'm using Hue Loco. I believe it's the Phyllis sock base. Also, if that name sounds familiar, I did test knit a hat for her at the end of last year. It's the cream one with the big pom-pom on it that I knit very quickly, and I just love it so much. She's super sweet, very wonderful to work with. So yeah, I have fun test knits coming up. I have test knits coming to an end, like my sock. I'm going to put a hold on test knitting right now. I will not accept any more. We're going to get these two done and go back to having no test knits. I will not. We're going to take a break after this. It's going to be good. I'm reining things in. I'm not overtaxing myself with my test knitting. It's going to be good. You know, I've been talking for about an hour at this point, an hour and 6 minutes. That's what happens when you don't record for a week, or you've been gone for 2 weeks. Love it. So yeah, that is pretty much all that I have for you guys. I have some other things that are not knitting related, but I forgot to bring them in here, like a cookbook that I got for my birthday from my parents that I'm very excited about. But I will save that for next week because this has been a very long episode already, and I appreciate you guys sitting with me for so long and listening to me rant and rave and sing and talk about the weather. Yeah, so I do appreciate that so much. There's all my social medias and show notes and stuff like that you can find pretty much everywhere. I'm most active on Instagram. If you have any questions or anything, or if you just want to reach out and say hello, that would be wonderful. I love hearing from you guys. There was someone who reached out to me saying that she got involved with test knitting for the first time, which is super exciting, and it just like made my heart really happy and warm that other people are starting to test knit, and that's really exciting. And I want to encourage all that kind of stuff, going out, testing stuff if you want to, being creative, knitting what you love, all that kind of stuff. So I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Since last time I saw you. I hope that if you are in the Texas area or experienced any of the damage that was done by this snowstorm, I hope that it gets repaired quickly, and I hope that things go back to normal for you soon. It is very sad. It is very devastating, and but I hope that you continue to craft. If you have crafty plans, I hope that they are successful this coming week. I clearly have lots of crafty plans. I need to finish my sock. That is getting done today or tomorrow. Sometime this week, specifically today or tomorrow. Maybe Thursday. We'll see how things go. So I need to finish that. I need to cast on this cowl. I need to continue to make progress on my urban adventure sweater. And then the other two things are now kind of like, they're not on the back burner, for sure. I'm gonna continue to knit on them as well. I have my time scheduled out because that's just apparently now what I do. It's part of my planning routine when I plan on Saturdays. In my planner, I write out what I'm wanting to work on or I'm going to work on that day. So that was a very loud noise. I think Sam closed a door or something. I don't know. I don't know what happened. Anyway, that doesn't matter. This is not a podcast of me trying to figure out what sounds are in the middle of recording. So, again, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you for being patient while I took some time off. It was really very wonderful, and I am excited to be back to record. I was really looking forward to it today, and I've really enjoyed getting to record this and chat with you. Sorry we can't chat in person, but I do feel like this is a good friendship we have going on here, and I really have enjoyed getting to talk to you. So with that, thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you guys next week, hopefully with a finished pair of socks. So, bye.